A wise man should not reveal his loss of wealth, the vexation of his mind, the misconduct of his own wife, base words spoken by others, and disgrace that has befallen him. He who gives up shyness in monetary dealings, in acquiring knowledge, in eating and in business, becomes happy. The happiness and peace attained by those satisfied by the nectar of spiritual tranquility is not attained by greedy persons restlessly moving here and there. One should feel satisfied with the following three things: his own wife, food given by providence, and wealth acquired by honest effort. But one should never feel satisfied with the following three: study, chanting the holy names of the Lord, jap, and charity. Do not pass between two brahmanas, between a brahmana and his sacrificial fire, between a wife and her husband, a master and his servant, and a plow and an ox. Do not let your foot touch fire, the spiritual master or a brahmana. It must never touch a cow, a virgin, an old person or a child. Keep 1,000 cubits away from an elephant, 100 from a horse, 10 from a horned beast, but keep away from the wicked by leaving the country. An elephant is controlled by a gaud, ankusha, a horse by a slap of the hand, a horned animal with the show of a stick, and a raska with a sword. Brahmanas find satisfaction in a good meal, peacocks in the peal of thunder, a sadhu in seeing the prosperity of others, and the wicked in the misery of others. Conciliate a strong man by submission, a wicked man by opposition, and the one whose power is equal to yours by politeness or force. The power of king lies in his mighty arms, that of a brahmana in his spiritual knowledge, and that of the woman in her beauty, youth, and sweet words. Do not be very upright in your dealings, for you would see by going to the forest that straight trees are cut down while crooked ones are left standing. Swans live wherever there is water, and leave the place where water dries up. Let not a man act so, and come and go as he pleases. Accumulated wealth is saved by spending, just as incoming fresh water is saved by letting out stagnant water. He who has wealth has friends and relations, he alone survives and is respected as a man. The following four characteristics of the denizens of heaven may be seen in the residents of this earth planet: charity, sweet words, worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and satisfying the needs of brahmanas. The following qualities of the denizens of hell may characterize men on earth: extreme wrath, harsh speech, enmity with one's relations, the company with the base, and service to men of low extraction. By going to the den of a lion, pearls from the head of an elephant may be obtained, but by visiting the hole of a jackal nothing but the tail of a calf or a bit of the hide of an ass may be found. The life of an uneducated man is as useless as the tail of a dog, which neither covers its rear end, nor protects it from the bites of insects. Purity of speech, of the mind, of the senses, and the of a compassionate heart are needed by one who desires to rise to the divine platform. As you seek fragrance in a flower, oil and the sesamum seed, fire and wood, ghee and milk, and jaggery, gada, and sugarcane, so seek the spirit that is in the body by means of discrimination. Low-class men desire wealth, middle-class men both wealth and respect, but the noble, honor only, hence honor is the noble man's true wealth. The lamp heats up the darkness and therefore it produces lamp black. In the same way, according to the nature of our diet, sattva, rajas, or tamas, we produce offspring in similar quality. O wise man! Give your wealth only to the worthy and never to others. The water of the sea received by the clouds is always sweet. The rainwater enlivens all living beings of the earth, both movable, insects, animals, humans, etc., and immovable, plants, trees, etc., and then returns to the ocean its value multiplied a millionfold. The wise who discern the essence of things have declared that the Yavana, meat-eater, is equal in baseness to 1,000 Kandala, the lowest class, and hence the Yavana is the basest of men. Indeed, there is no one more base. After having rubbed oil on the body, after encountering the smoke from a funeral pyre, after sexual intercourse, and after being shaved, one remains a chanda until he bathes. Water is the medicine for indigestion. It is invigorating when the food that is eaten is well digested. It is like nectar when drunk in the middle of a dinner, and it is like poison when taken at the end of a meal. Knowledge is lost without putting it into practice. A man is lost due to ignorance, an army is lost without a commander, and a woman is lost without a husband. A man who encounters the following three is unfortunate: the death of his wife in his old age, the entrusting of money into the hands of relatives, aunt, depending upon others for food. Chanting of the Vedas without making ritualistic sacrifices to the Supreme Lord through the medium of Agni, and sacrifices not followed by bountiful gifts are futile. Perfection can be achieved only through devotion to the Supreme Lord, for devotion is the basis of all success. There is no austerity equal to a balanced mind, and there is no happiness equal to contentment. There is no disease like covetousness, and no virtue like mercy. Anger is a personification of Yama, the demigod of death. Thirst is like the hellish river Vaitarani. Knowledge is like a Kamadhanu, the cow of plenty, and contentment is like Nandanavana, the garden of Indra. Moral excellence is an ornament for personal beauty, righteous conduct, for high birth, success for learning, and proper spending for wealth. Beauty is spoiled by an immoral nature, noble birth by bad conduct, learning, without being perfected, and wealth by not being properly utilized. Discontented brahmanas, contented kings, shy prostitutes, and immodest housewives are ruined. Of what avail is a high birth if a person is destitute of scholarship? A man who is of low extraction is honored even by the demigods if he is learned. A learned man is honored by the people. A learned man commands respect everywhere for his learning. Indeed, learning is honored everywhere. Those who are endowed with beauty and youth and who are born of noble families are worthless if they have no learning. They are just like the kimshuka blossoms, flowers of the palasa tree, which, though beautiful, have no fragrance. The earth is encumbered with the weight of the flesh-eaters, wine-bibblers, dolts and blockheads, who are beasts in the form of men. There is no enemy like a yajna, sacrifice, which consumes the kingdom when not attended by feeding on a large scale, consumes the priest when the chanting is not done properly, and consumes the yajaman, the responsible person, when the gifts are not made. My dear child, if you desire to be free from the cycle of birth and death, then abandon the objects of sense gratification as poison. Drink instead the nectar of forbearance, upright conduct, mercy, cleanliness and truth. Those base men who speak of the secret faults of others destroy themselves like serpents who stray onto anthills. Perhaps nobody has advised Lord Brahma, the creator, to impart perfume to gold, fruit to the sugarcane, flowers to the sandalwood tree, wealth to the learned, and long life to the king. Nectar, Amrita, is the best among medicines. Eating good food is the best of all types of material happiness. The eye is the chief among all organs, and the head occupies the chief position among all parts of the body. No messenger can travel about in the sky and no tidings come from there. The voice of its inhabitants is never heard, nor can any contact be established with them. Therefore the Brahmana who predicts the eclipse of the sun and moon which occur in the sky must be considered as a Vidwan, man of great learning. The student, the servant, the traveler, the hungry person, the frightened man, the treasury guard, and the steward, these 7 ought to be awakened if they fall asleep. The serpent, the king, the tiger, the stinging wasp, the small child, the dog owned by other people, and the fool, these 7 ought not to be awakened from sleep. Of those who have studied the Vedas for material rewards, and those who accept foodstuffs offered by Shudras, what potency have they? They are just like serpents without fangs. He who neither rouses fear by his anger, nor confers a favor when he is pleased can neither control nor protect. What can he do? The serpent may, without being poisonous, raise high its hood, but the show of terror is enough to frighten people, whether he be venomous or not. Wise men spend their mornings in discussing gambling, the afternoon discussing the activities of women, and the night hearing about the activities of theft. The first item above refers to the gambling of King Yudhishthira, the great devotee of Krishna. The second item refers to the glorious deeds of Mother Sita, the consort of Lord Ramachandra. The third item hints at the adorable childhood pastimes of Sri Krishna who stole butter from the elderly cowherd ladies of Gokula. Hence Chanakya Pandits advises wise persons to spend the morning, absorbed in Mahabharata, the afternoon studying Ramayana, and the evening devotedly hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam. By preparing a garland for a deity with one's own hand, by grinding sandal paste for the Lord with one's own hand, and by writing sacred texts with one's own hand, one becomes blessed with opulence equal to that of Indra. Poverty is set off by fortitude, shabby garments by keeping them clean, bad food by warming it, and ugliness by good behavior. One destitute of wealth is not destitute, he is indeed rich, if he is learned, but the man devoid of learning is destitute in every way. We should carefully scrutinize that place upon which we step, having it ascertained to be free from filth and living creatures like insects, etc. We should drink water which has been filtered through a clean cloth. We should speak only those words which have the sanction of the sutras, and do that act which we have carefully considered. He who desires sense gratification must give up all thoughts of acquiring knowledge, and he who seeks knowledge must not hope for sense gratification. How can he who seeks sense gratification acquire knowledge, and he who possesses knowledge enjoy mundane sense pleasure? What is it that escapes the observation of the poets? What is that act women are incapable of doing? What will drunken people not prate? What will not a crow eat? Fate makes a beggar a king and a king a beggar. He makes a rich man poor and a poor man rich. The beggar is a miser's enemy, the wise counselor is the fool's enemy, her husband is an adulterous wife's enemy, and the moon is the enemy of the thief. Those who are destitute of learning, penance, knowledge, good disposition, virtue and benevolence are brutes wandering the earth in the form of man. They are burdensome to the earth. Those that are empty-minded cannot be benefited by instruction. Bamboo does not acquire the quality of sandalwood by being associated with the Malaya mountain. What good can the scriptures do to a man who has no sense of his own? Of what use is, as mirror to a blind man? Nothing can reform a bad man, just as the posterius cannot become a superior part of the body though washed 100 times. By offending a kinsman, life is lost; by offending others, wealth is lost; by offending the king, everything is lost; and by offending a Brahmana one's whole family is ruined. It is better to live under a tree in a jungle inhabited by tigers and elephants, to maintain oneself in such a place with ripe fruits and spring water, to lie down on grass and to wear the ragged barks of trees than to live amongst one's relations when reduced to poverty. The Brahmana is like tree, his prayers are the roots, his chanting of the Vedas are the branches, and his religious act are the leaves. Consequently, efforts should be made to preserve his roots, for, if the roots are destroyed, there can be no branches or leaves. My mother is Kamavadave, Lakshmi. My father is Lord Janardana, Vishnu. My kinsmen are the Vishnu Bhaktas, Vaisnavas, and my homeland is all the three worlds. Through the night, a great many kinds of birds perch, sit and rest on a tree, but in the morning they fly in all the 10 directions. Why should we lament, expression of sorrow, for that? Similarly, we should not grieve when we must inevitably part company from our dear ones. He who possesses intelligence is strong. How can the man that is unintelligent be powerful? The elephant of the forest, having lost his senses by intoxication, was tricked into a lake by a small rabbit. This verse refers to a famous story from Neeti Sastra called Panchatantra, compiled by the Pandit Vishnu Sharma 2500 years ago. Why should I be concerned for my maintenance while absorbed in praising the glories of Lord Vishwambhara, Vishnu, the supporter of all? Without the grace of Lord Hari, how could milk flow from a mother's breast for a child's nourishment? Repeatedly thinking only in this way, O Lord of the Yedas, O husband of Lakshmi, all my time is spent in serving your lotus feet. Generosity, pleasing address, courage and propriety of conduct are not acquired, but are inbred qualities. He who forsakes his own community and joins another perishes as the king who embraces an unrighteous path. The elephant has a huge body but is controlled by the Ankusha, goad, yet is the goat as large as the elephant? A lighted candle banishes darkness. Is the candle as vast as the darkness? A mountain is broken even by a thunderbolt. Is the thunderbolt therefore as big as the mountain? No, he whose power prevails is really mighty. What is there in bulk? He who is engrossed in family life will never acquire knowledge. There can be no mercy in the eater of flesh. The greedy man will not be truthful, and purity will not be found in a woman and a hunter. The wicked man will not attain sanctity even if he is instructed in different ways, and the neem tree will not become sweet even if it is sprinkled from the top to the roots with milk and ghee. Mental dirt cannot be washed away even by 100 baths in the sacred waters, just as a wine pot cannot be purified even by evaporating all the wine by fire. It is not strange if a man reviles, degrades, a thing of which he has no knowledge, just as a wild hunter's wife throws away the pearl that is found in the head of an elephant, and picks up a gunja type of seed which poor tribals wear as ornaments. He who for 1 year eats his meals silently, inwardly meditating upon the Lord's prasadam, attains to the heavenly planets for 1,000 crore of years. Note, 1 crore equals 10 million. The student, Brahmachari, should completely renounce the following 8 things: his lust, anger, greed, desire for sweets, sense of decorating the body, excessive curiosity, excessive sleep, and excessive endeavor for bodily maintenance. He alone is a true Brahmana, Bija or twice born, who is satisfied with 1 meal a day, who has the 6 samskaras, or acts of purification such as garbhadana, etc., performed for him, and who cohabits with his wife only once in a month on an auspicious day after her menses. The Brahmana who is engrossed in worldly affairs, brings up cows and is engaged in trade is really called a Vaishya. The Brahmana who deals in black dye, articles, oil, indigo, silken cloth, honey, clarified butter, liquor, and flesh is called a Shudra. The Brahmana who thwarts the doings of others, who is hypocritical, selfish, and a deceitful hater, and while speaking mildly cherishes cruelty in his heart, is called a cat. The Brahmana who destroys a pond, a well, a tank, a garden and a temple is called the Mletsha. The Brahmana who steals the property of the deities and the spiritual preceptor, who cohabits with another's wife, and who maintains himself by eating anything and everything is called a Chandala. The meritorious should give away in charity all that they have in excess of their needs. By charity only Karna, Bali and King Vikramaditya survive even today. Just see the plight of the honeybees beating their legs in despair upon the earth. They are saying to themselves, alas! We neither enjoyed our stored up honey nor gave it in charity, and now someone has taken it from us in an instant. He is a blessed grihastha, householder, in whose house there is a blissful atmosphere, whose sons are talented, whose wife speaks sweetly, whose wealth is enough to satisfy his desires, who finds pleasure in the company of his wife, whose servants are obedient, in whose house hospitality is shown, the auspicious Supreme Lord is worshipped daily, delicious food and drink is partaken, and who finds joy in the company of devotees. One who devotedly gives a little to a Brahmana who is in distress is recompensed abundantly. Hence, O Prince, what is given to a good Brahmana is got back not in an equal quantity, but in an infinitely higher degree. Those men who are happy in this world, who are generous towards their relatives, kind to strangers, indifferent to the wicked, loving to the good, shrewd in their dealings with the base, frank with the learned, courageous with enemies, humble with elders and stern with the wife. O jackal, leave aside the body of that man at once, whose hands have never given in charity, whose ears have not heard the voice of learning, whose eyes have not beheld a pure devotee of the Lord, whose feet have never traversed the holy places, whose belly is filled with things obtained by crooked practices, and whose head is held high in vanity. Do not eat it, O jackal, otherwise you will become polluted. Shame upon those who have no devotion to the lotus feet of Sri Krishna, the son of Mother Yasoda, who have no attachment for the describing the glories of Srimati Radharani, whose ears are not eager to listen to the stories of the Lord's Leela. Such is the exclamation of the mridanga sound of diktam diktam digatam at Kartana. What fault of spring that the bamboo shoot has no leaves? What fault of the sun if the owl cannot see during the daytime? Is it the fault of the clouds if no raindrops fall into the mouth of the chatak bird? Who can erase what Lord Brahma has inscribed upon our foreheads at the time of birth? A wicked man may develop saintly qualities in the company of a devotee, but a devotee does not become impious in the company of a wicked person. The earth is scented by a flower that falls upon it, but the flower does not contact the odor of the earth. One indeed becomes blessed by having darshan of a devotee, for the devotee has the ability to purify immediately, whereas the sacred tirtha gives purity only after prolonged contact. A stranger asked the Brahmana, "Tell me, who is great in this city?" The Brahmana replied, "The cluster of pomegranate trees is great." Then the traveler asked, "Who is the most charitable person?" The Brahmana answered, "The washerman who takes the clothes in the morning and gives them back in the evening is the most charitable." He then asked, "Who is the ablest man?" The Brahmana answered, "Everyone is expert in robbing others of their wives and wealth." The man then asked the Brahmana, "How do you manage to live in such a city?" The Brahmana replied, "As a worm survives well even in a filthy place, so do I survive here." The house in which the lotus feet of Brahmanas are not washed, in which Vedic mantras are not loudly recited, and in which the holy rites of Svaha, sacrificial offerings to the Supreme Lord, and Swada, offerings to the ancestors, are not performed, is like a crematorium. It is said that a sadhu, when asked about his family, replied thusly, "Truth is my mother, and my father is spiritual knowledge, righteous conduct is my brother, and mercy is my friend, inner peace is my wife, and forgiveness is my son. These 6 are my kinsmen." Our bodies are perishable, wealth is not at all permanent, and death is always nearby. Therefore we must immediately engage in acts of merit. Arjuna says to Krishna, "Brahmanas find joy in going to feasts, cows find joy in eating their tender grass, wives find joy in the company of their husbands, and know, O Krishna, that in the same way I rejoice in battle." He who regards another's wife as his mother, the wealth that does not belong to him as a lump of mud, and the pleasure and pain of all other living beings as his own, truly sees things in the right perspective, and he is a true pandit. O Raghava, the love of virtue, pleasing speech, and an ardent desire for performing acts of charity, guileless dealings with friends, humility in the Guru's presence, deep tranquility of mind, pure conduct, discernment of virtues, realized knowledge of the Sastras, beauty of form and devotion to God are all found in you. The great sage Vasistha Muni, the spiritual preceptor of the dynasty of the Sun, said this to Lord Ramakandra at the time of his proposed coronation. The desire tree is wood, the golden Mount Meru is motionless, the wish-fulfilling gem Sintamani is just a stone, the sun is scorching, the moon is prone to wane, the boundless ocean is saline, the demigod of lust lost his body, due to Shiva's wrath. Bali Maharaja, the son of Diti, was born into a clan of demons, and Kamadhenu, the cow of heaven, is a mere beast. O Lord of the Raghu dynasty! I cannot compare you to any one of these, taking their merits into account. Realized learning, Vidya, is our friend while traveling, the wife is a friend at home, medicine is the friend of a sick man, and meritorious deeds are the friends at death. Courtesy should be learned from princes, the art of conversation from pandits, lying should be learned from gamblers, and deceitful ways should be learned from women. The unthinking spender, the homeless urchin, the quarrel monger, the man who neglects his wife and is heedless in his actions, all these will soon come to ruination. The wise man should not be anxious about his food, he should be anxious to be engaged only in Dharma, Krishna consciousness. The food of each man is created for him at his birth. He who is not shy in the acquisition of wealth, grain and knowledge, and in taking his meals, will be happy. As centesimal droppings will fill a pot, so also are knowledge, virtue and wealth gradually obtained. The man who remains a fool even in advanced age is really a fool, just as the impervaruna fruit does not become sweet no matter how ripe it might become.